Alright, welcome back to another Affinity video. We are on the draw with a excellent hand. I like how explosive this hand is. It attacks for 4 and then much more than 4, depending on if we hit or land or not. The mass signal past hands just do so much damage if your opponent has no particularly good spot removal. And with the Mox Opal to accelerate it, this is just really fast against most relatively fair decks, like most Scalding Tarn decks. So the next turn we'll do Ravager Signal Past and have a real good board position. So my current guess is Storm. Could be some blue-red moon type thing. Storm would be tricky. Do not want to play against that. Or this is Jeskai control. This is Jeskai control. Then Electrolyze would suck. I do not want to play against Electrolyze. Other than that, this many Signal Pests against Steel Overseer. That is quite good. So against Jeskai, the biggest danger is Electrolyze. If they have Electrolyze in hand, we really want to play Ravager this turn. If they don't, then Steel Overseer is much... No, they're gonna run out of their removal on Arcbound Ravager, and if we can stick a Steel Overseer later in the game, there's no chance that a Jeskai control player doesn't have removal. Let's just run out the Ravager as a removal bait. We'll do that post-combat because if he wants to use a removal spell pre-combat, he's going to do that anyways in response to the Ravager, so we're not really gaining anything by doing it pre-combat. This way he might... I mean, he wasn't going to Path, because if he was going to Path, he would do it in the beginning of combat, unless he's just screwing up, but... So here we're playing, well, Path into Electrolyze would just kind of be a disaster. So we will take the land here over moving the +1/+1 counter around. It's not really going to protect anything. If he had Electrolyze, he just hit the other 2 Signal Pests that we don't put a counter on. Please no, thank you. Thank you. That's not an Electrolyze this turn. That's exactly what I want to see. So this turn, we're probably just activating Blink Moth Nexus and bashing with everything, and then playing Steel Overseer on the end of turn end step. See if he casts another spell. He did Serum Visions bottom, and then Flooded Strand, so maybe he picked up the Flooded Strand off the Serum Visions. Basic Plains, interesting. Maybe multiple Path to Exiles? Okay. Out there. We're just gonna go for the max damage play here, which is the Cranial Plating equip. I think he's F6'd. Right? I think we got this. He can't Wrath. can't Wrath and he has to deal with 4 potential attackers. Certainly the third Serum Visions is not doing it. I don't know of a way for him to get out of this, so... And make Blink Moth. Good combat. 2 1-mana removal spells don't do it. Lightning Heat? Actually, no, Lightning Helix. Does Lightning Helix even do it? Taking 5? Yeah, Lightning Helix doesn't do it. Alright. Against Jeskai, S Champion is amazing. Steel Overseer is actually quite bad against them, just because they have so much removal, Stony Silence, Electrolyze. Just, I don't feel like I'm ever going to untap with it. Thoughtseize is great. Blood Moons and Aether Grids are also good. I'll take out a few Master of Ethereums. Taking out the Masters because Path to Exile, Shatter effects, and I'm loading up very heavily on these much more powerful 3-drops against them. They're not great against a Resolve Grid or a Resolve Blood Moon. And take out a Memnite. Looks good. Thoughtseize, Galvanic Blast I would normally take out against relatively control-y decks, but this deck likes to play Spell Queller, and Galvanic Blasting and Spell Queller is really good. You trade up so much on tempo. This hand is amazing against a non-Stony Silence draw, so cross your fingers and pray for no Stony Silence. There is a Stony Silence, we'll probably just lose, but that's sort of what you sign up for in this deck. Well, that is not Stony Silence. My bet is he kept a 7-card hand with 1 land and Stony, and was hoping to hit the second land to cast Stony on turn 2, and had Serum Visions as a backup in case he didn't hit the Stony. Otherwise, this seems like a kind of mediocre hand. I mean, it could also have just been a mediocre hand that he decided was better than mulling to 6. Top does not bode well. You gotta have a good hand to top. When you're not playing Stony Silence on turn 2. I guess Ravager and then Vault Scourge. Nice thing is we drew a non-artifact source of mana, so now we're only one more non-artifact source away from casting Etched Champion even through a Stony Silence. So it really stinks when all of your mana sources get shut off by Stony. If you like have double artifact lands and the Springleaf Drum is your only mana source and they cast Stony, you're just like, oh, can't even cast spells. I can't even cast spells that do nothing. So we're good against Electrolyze here. If you can't see him passing without casting spells. Lightning Bolt, sure. Lightning Bolt the Ravager, do something else to the Vault Scourge. Sure. Next turn we probably go Citadel, Fast Plating, Equip. Actually, Yeah, I like that line more. Ooh, it's a path. Now that he's pathed us... So now that he's pathed us, do I like changing that play? Yeah, I think I'm gonna go Citadel Champion Pest. Since he can't counter this, so now we're only getting punished by Supreme Verdicts. Some versions of the Jeskai deck cut Supreme Verdicts, and some don't. And I have no idea which version he's playing. He could also have Ceremonious Rejection, in which case we're running the champion into Ceremonious Rejection, but can't do much about that. Okay. Well, that's irritating, but we still have a cranial plating. Now, if he has Snapcaster, we're screwed either way. Okay, just run this out. And pray no Snapcaster, or also no Spell Queller. Alright. Get pretty owned. It's also worth noting, this is why Blood Moon is so good against this deck. Cast it here. You can't do anything. They're restricted to red spells. They're not really an effective deck. Because the red spells are not the ones that matter in this matchup. I mean, I suppose they could have overloaded Vandal Blast or something ridiculous like that. I don't know which damage channel I'm gonna try to win for, which is why I didn't go for 3 on the Ink Moth. I can play into Spell Queller pretty hard by attacking with everything. I think I'm gonna do that because I'm kind of behind, and things are not particularly improving very quickly. If I spew off a Signal Pest to a Spell Queller, that's at the very least an important spell. I'm not getting Spell Queller later. Like, yeah, so here's the Spell Queller, probably. Oh, Snapcaster Mage. Snapcaster Lightning Bolt, Snapcaster Path. Bolting probably one of the Nexus. I'd really like him to bolt the Ink Moth, that'd be great. And then he's probably gonna block the Memnite. Maybe? Another reason Grid's great against them, because you just zap both Snapcasters and he doesn't get value off of being able to attack or block with his Ambush Vipers. Alright. They land and go. He is down to 2 cards. So if they're lands, then we're actually in pretty good shape. Electrolyze would be awful, but he does not necessarily have that. In fact, he almost certainly would have electrolyzed and then flashed it back later. So the odds on electrolyze are quite slim in my opinion. Red enchantment, please. No, that's not a red enchantment. That was really dumb. I was just tapping too quickly. Well, if I miss this match by 1 point of damage, then shame on me. So this Bell Queller should have been at 0 power. Well, if it's trading off on the Memnite, I don't feel quite as bad. I'm just missing 1 poison. Here with 4 poison and him at 10, it's definitely better for me to attack with only the Blink Moths. Alright, so we threw away that card, or that damage. And we are quite far behind. Plus side? What's the plus side here? I was about to say there's no Stony Silence yet. But are we just dead? We're close enough to just dead that I don't want to show him that we have a Thoughtseize. Yeah, Ornithopter wasn't going to do anything. Alright, 3rd Blood Moon on the play, and I'll take out the next Memnite. That seemed good. Sounds like a plan. This is so meh against that deck. Like, it's kind of hard to pass because we have 2-man lands and we have cards that do things, and we can easily just get screwed by mulliganing. But at the same time, I just see this hand getting like 1 for 1 until it doesn't exist. Being on the play does make these aggressive creatures better. And the man lands do help a lot. We do have our colored mana, so if we draw basically any non-mana draws are decent here. We don't have Memnites to really mess on. I think it has just enough going for it that I'll keep, but it's not something I really like keeping. I do like if these were, say, Darksteel Citadels, I would definitely not keep, because we can't cast our sideboard cards. But the upside of, oh, have 2-man lands, have the mana for your sideboard cards, that kind of thing is significant. If we draw our powerful stuff like a Blood Moon, then we can cast it. I expect end of turn Bolt. Oh, Opt. Yeah, these decks I don't think used to run Hot Scour, but it makes sense for them to be playing Opt. Blood Moon. Alright, so we can go for a lot of Inkmoth damage, or we can go for a lot of regular damage. I think at the moment I'm inclined to lean towards the Inkmoth, since we have one in hand. I'm not going to show the next Inkmoth, in case they change their decisions based off that. Play that, play this, pass the turn. Still no Bolt. Upside of this hand, it's really not bad against Stony Silence. If our opponent kept a hand based only off Stony Silence, we would be in good shape. How tremendously ironic. That is hilariously depressing. The card we need to kill Vendilion Click. Lost to Vendilion Click. I do like just attacking with 2 Inkmoths here. Saying, alright, you really want to go to 9 poison, or are you going to block an Inkmoth with your Vendilion Click? I could also play Ravager and attack with an Inkmoth, which would get pumped 3, and then you'd be forced to chump block. And I'd have Ravager in play instead of 3 more poison damage. I think I'd rather have the poison damage, honestly. Not to mention the fact that I get a whole bunch of regular damage in. He can't pick off a signal past. This is the nice thing, like, even these mediocre hands, like, just put a lot of pressure on the Jeskai control player, and they just have a hard time dealing with the mana efficiency. Like, you're gonna 1-for-1 these things, well, you need to have only 1 mana removals. Or maybe a Electrolyze. And now next turn, we're set up for Fires of Industry, Arcbound Ravager, an attack with an Inkmoth Nexus that's also threatening lethal. Oh, well, there's a Stony Silence. Sure. So I can't sacrifice things to Ravager, so there's no point in holding Ravager, in playing Ravager before combat. If there was no Stony Silence, then I could do like Ravager off these 2 lands and then activate Inkmoth Nexus, but there's no point in doing that. Because if you play the Ravager first, then if he goes to remove the Inkmoth Nexus, you definitely get the counter, whereas most of the time, you know, if you cast your Ravager, then they can just remove your creature before Ravager enters play. Or he'll just concede. I win the match. Yay! Go us. Alright, come back for the next one.